Hello and welcome to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio. Researched and written in Indianapolis by Adrian Peterson and produced in the studios of shortwave station WRMI in Miami. I'm Jeff White. Today on Wavescan, the final episode in the story of radio broadcasting in Afghanistan, the story of the Indian shortwave transmitter. Also, European perspective and our Bangladesh DX report. In the long and interesting story of radio broadcasting in the landlocked Western Asian country of Afghanistan, we come to the final episode, the story of the Indian shortwave transmitter. Back in the much happier days, the first shortwave transmitter was activated at Yakutat, on the eastern edge of Kabul in Afghanistan. The original complement of shortwave transmitters at this location were German-made units, one at 10 kilowatts and two at 25 kilowatts, with combined output at 50 kilowatts. These were inaugurated progressively in the late 1950s for national and international coverage. In August 1966, an additional 100 kilowatt Siemens transmitter was installed, and then 10 years later, 5 replacement transmitters were installed, 3 at 50 kilowatts and 2 at 10 kilowatts. However, much of this equipment was destroyed at the time of the Russian invasion in 1979. Then in May 1993, at least one of the shortwave transmitters was rejuvenated, though during the following year that also was damaged in further fighting. 1 year later, a composite transmitter was assembled with the usage of available parts, and this was activated on September 23, 1995. At this stage, the main broadcasting channel was 7,200 kilohertz. However, on October 8, 2001, this unit was destroyed in an American air raid. Almost immediately, a 100 kilowatt Russian-made R118 unit was installed, and this was activated in December in the 7 megahertz band, though monitoring reports suggest that the power output was considerably less than the rated 100 kilowatts. At this stage, shortwave usage was very spasmodic. In an endeavor to obtain wide national coverage on shortwave, U.S. Aid installed satellite equipment in Kabul, and in this way programming was conveyed from the Kabul studios to transmitter bases in Russia, Austria, Norway, and the United Arab Emirates. These off-site relays of Kabul programming began in May 2002, though they were terminated in June of the following year. At this stage, the Indian government granted a huge financial package for the restoration of Afghanistan, and this included a new shortwave station. With this aid, the facility at Yakutat was rebuilt, and a 100 kilowatt transmitter was installed, together with 7 antenna systems. Initially, it was thought that the new transmitter would be an Indian-made unit from BEL in Bangalore. However, BBC Monitoring stated that this new transmitter provided by Indian Aid was a Thomson unit from France, and this fact was also confirmed by the well-known international radio monitor Jose Jacob, VU2JOS, in Hyderabad, India. Work on the revived shortwave facility at Yakutat began in February 2005, but progress was considerably delayed. Even when the work was completed, there was a further delay awaiting the connection to the city power grid. The new 100 kilowatt shortwave service was officially inaugurated on July 30, 2011, and the first published monitoring observation was from a listener in Russia who heard the station the next day on 6,100 kilohertz. 2 days after the official opening, the new station was noted by another well-known international radio monitor, Victor Gunatilaka, in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Last year's World Radio TV Handbook listed the scheduling for just 1 hour a day, beginning at 1530 UTC on 6102 kilohertz. However, according to many international radio monitors in several different countries, the operating frequency was changed at the beginning of the year to 7,200 kilohertz. But alas, the last known monitoring of Radio Afghanistan with its brand spanking new transmitter was in April last year, and apparently it is still off the air to this day. It always seemed to be difficult to obtain a QSL card from Radio Afghanistan, yet there are multitudes of these cards throughout the world, and many are offered for sale on eBay. The earliest known QSL card was printed in black ink on gray card. That was in 1958, quite soon after their first shortwave transmitter was inaugurated. The well-known QSL card showing a map of Afghanistan in color was first issued around the mid-1960s. This card showed the large letters QSL, but no photo of the Bamiyan Buddhist statue, and at least 4 different printings are known. However, the same card with the Buddhist statue came out about 10 years later. In addition, during the 1970s and again in the early 1980s, Radio Afghanistan issued many different QSL cards depicting attractive tourist sites in color.
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana 46229 in the USA. Or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
From the Ital Radio News Desk in Florence, here now is European Perspective, a monthly feature written by Luigi Cobisi about international broadcasting from the Old Continent. Are Italian medium waves really so near to disappearance that an announcement was necessary to inform listeners to switch to the FM network? Last December 14th, local newscasts in at least 12 out of 20 Italian regions informed listeners about frequency changes and or the suppression of medium wave broadcasts. The announcement was aired only once, but worries are growing about a possible winding up of all medium wave operations by RAI. The RAI medium wave network was starkly reduced in 2006, and in 2012 also, when Naples, 657 kHz, and Bari, 1116 kHz, 2 historical stations, were dismantled. Sources agree that 6 to 12 stations are to survive, but no official information is available, nor is any announcement repeated. Ital Radio was able to confirm that Pisa Coltano, on frequency 657 kHz, will be operational also in the future. Plans have been prepared to use the station also for DRM experiments. Italian medium wave stations are operated by RAI under the provisions of a state mandate as a part of general public broadcasting service. Nevertheless, a list of mandatory medium wave stations is not available. In the meantime, on December 31st, 2012, the last 3 broadcasts in Italian, German, and French were relayed from Moscow through the antenna in Monte Ceneri, Switzerland, on 558 kHz from 1000 to 2000 UTC. This historical station was used by Italian Swiss Radio until June 2008, and by the Voice of Russia from 2011, for which a 5-year license was granted to the Russian International Radio. The Voice of Russia confirmed that all broadcasts from Monte Ceneri will be discontinued, notwithstanding the fact that they received a 5-year license in 2011 from the Swiss Federal Telecommunication Regulatory Board. Until June 30th, 2008, the station was used by Italian Swiss Radio. Shortly afterwards, BAKOM, UFCOM, collected declarations of interest from private companies, among them the Italian religious station Radio Mater. But in 2011, a license, due to expire on December 31st, 2015, was granted to the Voice of Russia, after diplomatic contacts between Switzerland and Russia. The Monte Ceneri station is the only Swiss medium wave plant still on the air, after both stations in Sotain and Beromünster were dismantled. It is operated by Swisscom, but no official information about the future of the station has been released until now. Finally, an item of good news for medium wave listeners in southern Europe. Radio Capodistria, the Italian-language station serving Italian communities in Slovenia and Croatia, will extend broadcasts to 24 hours daily. As from January 1st, 2013, Italian programs are covering also the nightly hours from midnight to 6 a.m. Central European Time. This presents a new opportunity for listeners to hear Italian broadcasts on medium wave on the frequency of 1170 kHz. This station, part of the regional studio Koper Capodistria of RTV Slovenia, has extended their Dalet control system, enabling it to automatically repeat broadcasts at night in 2 segments, 8 p.m. to midnight Central European Time and midnight to 6 a.m. Central European Time. Music and repeats of daily broadcasts will be included. Italian communities scattered in Istria, Dalmatia, and Fiume, Riesca regions became a national minority after the area was included in former Yugoslavia at the end of World War II. Under existing laws, they were granted special rights in Slovenia and Croatia, including radio and TV broadcasting. The medium wave station in Croce Bianca, Beli Cris by Piran Istria, is operated by Radio Capodistria on 1170 kHz, and their Slovenian sister station, Radio Koper, on 549 kHz with 15 kilowatts. Listeners confirm that the station is being heard as far as central and southeastern Italy and the eastern Adriatic coast. And there's a new opportunity for tourists in Pisa. After visiting the famous Leaning Tower, a short walk to the Arno side leads to the State Archives, where documents are now exhibited to explain the early years, 1904 to 1918, of the Coltrano transcontinental wireless station, built by Marconi over 100 years ago. This exhibition offers plans and texts about the building of the station, which proved to be decisive in connecting Italy to the Americas and Africa up until its destruction in World War II. Until today, a little Marconian building is still visible, along with the remains of the aerial abutments at Coltano, a rural area very near to the city center. Documents found at the State Archives show the technologies that were used back in 1904 to build the station in a wet area, which was good for transmission, but very difficult for the construction of metal and wooden buildings. The exhibition is a new positive effort to preserve Marconi's memories in Pisa, and it can be visited at the Pisa State Archive, Archivio di Stato, until January 31st of 2013. And that's all from Florence this month. If you wish to be informed on what's going on in the Italian and European international broadcasting scene, please check out the Ital Radio website at www.italradio, that's italradio.org. You can also find a portale, that's to say a web portal, with current news in English, too. Thanks to Luigi Cobisi for that information. Now let's go to Salahuddin Dalar in Bangladesh and his monthly DX report.
Dear listeners and radio hobbyists, welcome you in January edition of Bangladesh DX report in Uzbekistan. This is Salahuddin Dalar from the beautiful city Rajshahi, Bangladesh. Glad to be back and thanks for listening. It is the 7th year anniversary report of Bangladesh DX report in Uzbekistan. On this occasion, I want to express my gratitude to Mr. Akinuri Kaibi, the ex-head of Adventist World Radio Asia Pacific region, who inspired me to take the challenge because I was not experienced in this job. Special thanks to Mr. Dr. Adrian Peterson, Mr. Jeff White, and Mr. Rowan Catelico, the presenter of Uzbekistan. I also grateful to Mr. Azizul Alam Alamin and Mr. S.M.J. Habib from Bangladesh, Mr. George Jacob, Mr. Shapon Chakraborty, and Mr. Partha Goswami from India, Mr. Victor Gunatalika from Sri Lanka, Mr. Herring Haynes from Austria, and all of our listeners who pay their valuable time for listening my reports. In 2012, we get more than 50 reception reports from listeners around the world. Let's start. Bangladesh Betar new shortwave transmitter. Radio is the oldest and biggest media in Bangladesh. Bangladesh Betar is the state-owned radio broadcasting organization of Bangladesh. To optimize the international shortwave coverage, it was decided to upgrade the existing Kobirpur transmitter site with new flexible MPCon SPRCA 2x2. To strengthen the external service of Bangladesh Betar, a new 250 kilowatt antenna was inaugurated on 7th January 2013. Mr. Hassanul Haqqinu, Honorable Minister of Information, Ministry of People's Republic of Bangladesh, was chief guest on the inauguration program. Mr. Hidayatul Al-Mamun, Secretary of Ministry of Information, was a special guest. Kaji Akhtaruddin, the Honorable DG of Bangladesh Betar, presided over this meeting. Bangladesh Betar airs for overseas listeners in Bangla, Hindi, Nepali, Urdu, English, and Arabic language. Radio Mahananda FM 99.2. Radio Mahananda FM 99.2 arranged a grand ceremony on their first anniversary on 15th January 2013. Radio Mahananda is aired from Chapai Nawabganj, Bangladesh. Chapai Nawabganj is adjacent to West Bengal, India. Listeners also from West Bengal can listen their program. Local MP Mr. Abdul Wadud Bishwas was inaugurated this program as the chief guest. Manjur Rahman, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Information of People's Republic of Bangladesh. Mr. Bajlur Rahman, CEO of BNN and RC. Mr. Fariduddin, Regional Director in charge of Bangladesh Betar Rajshahi and Veteran listener, and DXR Mr. Abdul Samad were present as a special guest. More than 1,000 listeners joined in this program. Voice of Indonesia. Voice of Indonesia official confirmed that they have renovated their transmitter site with new tubes. VOI is now seeking reception reports from listeners. Bangladesh Betar again. Bangladesh Betar domestic service is now back on 4750 kilohertz from 31st December 2012. Now, the receiving log of different radio stations. Radio Vatican at 1538 UTC in English on at 15595 kilohertz. The SIO code was 333. Voice of America in Bangla, 1 hour special transmission on the 55th anniversary of Voice of America Bangla service at 1600 to 1700 UTC on 7405 kilohertz. The SIO code was 444. January 2nd, Radio Debu Jiti in Somalian at 1052 UTC on 17700 kilohertz. The SIO code was 343. This reception was noisy. Deutsche Welle in Pashto at 1400 to 1430 UTC on 17860 kilohertz. The SIO code was 444. January 3rd, BBC at 0030 to 0100 UTC in Dari on 5875 kilohertz. The SIO code was 433. And at 1400 to 1430 UTC in English on 9410 kilohertz. The SIO code was 444. January 4th, Voice of Turkey at 1732 UTC in English on 11730 kilohertz. The SIO code was 444. January 5th, Kyrgyz Radio from Kyrgyzstan at 1650 UTC on 4010 kilohertz. The SIO code was 343. Uganda Broadcasting Corporation at 1932 UTC on 4976 kilohertz. The SIO code was 344. January 6th, Radio Romania International in Romanian at 0829 UTC on 17850 kilohertz. The SIO code was 444. Voice of Indonesia at 1859 UTC in English on 9526 kilohertz. The SIO code was 444. Bangladesh DX team will issue a QSL card for the correct reception report. Please send your reception report with 1 IRC or $1 to Bangladesh DX report, care of Salahuddin Dollar, Village and Post Chowmohoni CHAUMAHAN Chowmohoni Rajshahi 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 Bangladesh. Or for EQSL, you can send your reception report to dxbangla@gmail.com. dxbangla Bangla@gmail.com. Okay, I will come with more DX news in the next edition. Till then, take care. Salahuddin Dollar.
Thank you, Salahuddin. You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. And now some other shortwave and radio news and information. A report from Jos Jacob, VU2JOS in Hyderabad, India, states that the programming from Adventist World Radio in the Telugu language is heard regularly on the VB Vivid Bharati channel several times each week at 1200 to 1230. This AWR programming is heard on shortwave on 4800 kHz with 50 kilowatts and medium wave 738 kHz with 200 kilowatts. An international radio convention was held in Delhi, India recently for the further development of digital DRM radio broadcasting. This 9-day seminar at the beginning of December was held at the AIR Staff Training Institute, and representatives from international and domestic radio broadcasting organizations in 8 different countries in Asia and Africa attended. These countries were Bhutan, India, Malaysia, the Maldive Islands, Nepal and Thailand in Asia, and Mozambique and Nigeria in Africa. Lectures, descriptions, and demonstrations regarding DRM radio broadcasting were presented, and the entire group visited the large AIR transmitter complex at Kanpur, where both medium wave and shortwave transmitters are currently on the air in the DRM digital mode. It should also be stated that of all the countries in the world, India is demonstrating the most rapid development in digital radio broadcasting. In a massive restructuring project, AIR is replacing all of their analog transmitters throughout the entire nation with digital equipment. Now, a couple of interesting radio-related items from our local newspaper here, the Miami Herald. In the city of Hollywood, Florida, just north of us here in Miami, residents of a certain part of the city reported having problems with the remote control keyless entry systems on their automobiles. They wouldn't work. In some cases, the cars were towed to a repair shop a few miles away, and suddenly the keyless entry systems were working again. Some people thought the problem might have been caused by radio equipment at the Hollywood police station. So the police and the Federal Communications Commission began to investigate this, and they found an illegal pirate radio transmitter in a nearby office building. The pirate station was broadcasting Caribbean music 24 hours per day on the frequency of 104.7 megahertz. Perhaps it was spurious radiation from this transmitter that was causing the problem with the keyless entry systems, because when the FCC turned the transmitter off and confiscated it, the problem went away. The operator of the pirate FM station could be fined as much as $10,000 for transmitting without a license, but they haven't found him. The station was operating with an automation system. Incidentally, pirate FM stations are quite a problem in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area. Meanwhile, over at the Boeing Aircraft Company, they were having a different kind of problem. Engineers were testing in-flight wireless internet systems on their aircraft to find weak spots. The problem was that in order to make accurate signal tests while the planes were on the ground, they needed to have the planes full of people. Well, it wasn't practical to fill the planes with dozens or even hundreds of people sitting there for hours or days at a time. But it just so happens that because potatoes have a similar water content and chemistry to human bodies, and they absorb and reflect radio waves much like human bodies, the engineers were able to simulate human beings by putting sacks of potatoes on the aircraft seats. Boeing says that the experiments have greatly improved the wireless internet signals on their planes. Well, the annual radio calendar in full color is once again available for this year. Each page of the calendar presents reproductions of 2 QSL cards at full size. The cost for this invaluable item is $20 or equivalent, and it's available from the highly respected Dr. Harold Gabler. That's H-A-R-A-L-D, Gabler, G-A-B-L-E-R, at 3 Limburger Street, Königstein, 61462 in Germany. Once again, that's Dr. Harold Gabler at number 3 Limburger Street, Königstein, K-O-N-I-G-S-T-E-I-N, 61462 in Germany. Quite recently, shortwave listeners in Asia, Europe, and South America have been reporting the reception of our DX program Wavescan via 3 of the American shortwave stations. Wavescan can be heard in Asia and Europe via WWCR on Saturdays at 1730 UTC on 12160 kHz, and from WINB on Wednesdays at 2100 UTC on 13570 kHz. Our DX program Wavescan can also be heard in Europe and South America via WRMI on 9955 kHz. It is heard several times each week on WRMI, all on 9955 kHz, and you can find the exact days and times at the WRMI website, which is www.wrmi.net. Then click on Programming. The December 19th, 2012 issue of the American radio magazine Radio World contains 3 items of interest to the International Radio Monitor. On the front page is an aerial photo of the large shortwave station operated by IBB at Biblis in Germany for Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. The station was erected in 1953, and it is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. A special report shows a photo of the massive new shortwave facility at Kabirpur in Bangladesh. The antenna system for the 250 kilowatt transmitter is a rotatable curtain that can be changed 180 degrees in either direction in less than 3 minutes. The system is built to withstand wind speeds up to 150 miles per hour, and the entire system is also optimized for DRM digital operation. This new shortwave facility at Kabirpur was officially inaugurated on January 7th. Another photo shows the AT&T operation for the broadcast of the inauguration of President Herbert Hoover in 1929. Proceedings of the event were distributed by the AT&T telephone network for broadcast nationwide. And in addition, the program was carried on shortwave across the Pacific for broadcast by medium wave KGU in Honolulu.
Sanki gönlüm boş yere yanmış, külleri savrulmuş. Bıraktığın acılar öyle böyle değil, çifte kavrulmuş.
And we end today's Wavescan with some music from Turkey, from the voice of Turkey, actually. Thanks for listening to Wavescan, the International DX program from Adventist World Radio. Researched and written by Dr. Adrian Peterson in Indianapolis. Next week, focus on Africa, radio broadcasting in the land of the mountain lion, and our Australian DX report. A reminder that we have 2 QSL cards available for reports on this program, one from AWR, another from WRMI. You can send your reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. We always like to hear from you. You can email us at wavescan@awr.org. That's wavescan@awr.org. I'm Jeff White at WRMI in Miami. Till next week, good listening, everyone.